Good evening. I am Bruce Prince, and this is Manny Landau, and we are together the co-presidents of the Jewish Community Council of Greater Teaneck. We welcome you all to this annual commemoration. Your presence in numbers shows the strength of our very special community. Our Yom Hashoa subcommittee spends countless hours assembling a program that is meaningful and profound, yet conveys honor and respect to those who survived the Holocaust and those who perished. We want to thank also the many volunteers for their hard work and welcome these fellow dignitaries who are joining us this evening. Councilman Alan Sohn, Councilwoman Javon Romney-Rice, Mark Schwartz, Deputy Mayor Ellie Katz, and Deputy Mayor Henry Pruitt, and the Mayor of Bergenfield, Norman Schmeltz. Hope I have that right. For names not called, please see the program. I call upon now Deputy Mayor Ellie Katz, who will present Teaneck's proclamation, and the Yom Hashoa Subcommittee Chair, Steve Fox, to accept this acknowledgement.
Thank you very much. And first, I want to thank both of you and the entire committee for putting together such a wonderful event for the community, a very meaningful event for the community. I do have a proclamation from the Township Council of Teaneck. I'd like to read it. Whereas the Holocaust was a state-sponsored systematic persecution and annihilation of European Jewry by Nazi Germany and its collaborators between 1933 and 1945, Jews were the primary victims. 6 million were murdered. Gypsies and handicapped and Poles were also targeted for destruction and dissemination and decimation for racial, ethnic, or national reasons. Millions more, including homosexuals, Jehovah's Witnesses, Soviet prisoners of war, and political dissidents, also suffered grievous oppression and death under Nazi tyranny. And whereas pursuant to an act of Congress, Public Law 96-388, October 7, 1980, the United States Holocaust Memorial Council designated the days of remembrance of the victims of the Holocaust to be April 8, 2018 through April 15, 2018, including the International Day of Remembrance known as Yom Hashoa, April 12, 2018. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Township Council of the Township of Teaneck, do hereby proclaim the week of April 8, 2018 through April 15, 2018 as days of remembrance in memory of the victims of the Holocaust and in honor of the survivors, as well as the rescuers, and further proclaim that we, as citizens of the Township of Teaneck, should strive to overcome intolerance and indifference through learning and remembrance. And as we talk about learning and remembrance, I have the honor to serve on the council with the rest of my colleagues that have really worked hard to put together the garden to nurture human understanding, which I know the two of you have worked tirelessly with many other volunteers to put together. It's going to be a Holocaust memorial, and it's going to be an enslaved African memorial on the municipal green. And it's going to be a place where my children and your children for the next 50 or 100 years will be able to go and learn and see and be sensitized to all the horrific acts and become better people based on learning from the past. And I want to thank you for that hard work and recognize my council colleagues, Jason Castle, Mark Schwartz, Henry Pruitt, Javon Romney-Rice, Alan Sohn, and our mayor, Mohammed Hamaduddin, who were part of that endeavor and who also signed the certificate and proclamation today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You got it? We'll go down this way.
Good evening. My name is Steve Fox. On behalf of my co-chairs, Felicia Grossman, Heidi Fuchs, and the entire committee, I want to welcome you to our annual Holocaust commemoration. As many of you know, we have begun the process of creating a Holocaust Memorial and Education Center here in Teaneck to serve the entire county. Since last year, we have received seed money from the state, as well as a grant from the New Jersey Council on the Humanities and private donations. We look forward to continued communal support to make this a reality. Please turn your attention to the screen for a short video.
I'm a Holocaust survivor.
I was in a slave labor camp in Siberia.
I survived in Stutthof concentration camp.
I was sent on a kindertransport at the age of 12.
My parents were killed in Auschwitz, and I was hidden by a non-Jewish French family at the age of 6.
My great-grandparents and extended family were killed in the Holocaust.
We survivors won't be here for many, many years.
We need to educate people to the danger of racism.
Genocide.
Intolerance.
We have a chance to do something about it.
To educate.
To memorialize.
In 2016, the Teaneck Town Council approved a site for the Northern New Jersey Holocaust Memorial and Education Center and a memorial to enslaved Africans as part of the Garden to Nurture Human Understanding. It will be a showcase for all to emulate.
It'll be a place to memorialize the martyrs and educate visitors of all denominations.
The memorial will have space for people like me to dedicate to my ancestors and to bring my children as well.
The reading rail on the outside will be designed with the latest augmented reality technology to stimulate the visitors' minds and emotions with thought-provoking graphics and videos.
A 10-foot central sculpture visible from the street will attract visitors and arouse curiosity.
This is a tremendous project for our community. It will attract thousands of visitors year-round.
With our seed money, we have commissioned Ralph Applebaum Associates, the leading exhibit designer in the world. He designed the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C., the Jewish Museum and Tolerance Center in Moscow.
In 2017, we partnered with the Teaneck Library to supplement our educational endeavors and provide a place for programming. They will also house an extensive collection of video testimonies and virtual artifacts from local families.
How meaningful it would be to be able to bring my grandchildren to hear my parents' stories.
I made a commitment to tell my story, so it shouldn't happen again.
I would love the local community to hear my story.
To view my artifacts.
To share in my experience.
As president of the RCBC, I believe this project is critically important and deserves your support.
For my children.
And all children.
To honor my parents.
And all survivors.
We are committed to building a garden to nurture human understanding.
It's time to make your commitment too.
It's been 73 years since the end of the Shoah, and it's hard to believe that it's still a hotbed topic generating headlines all over the world. We are seeing a rise in anti-Semitism worldwide, and white supremacists still unshamingly carry the Nazi flag. We see governments like that of Poland who are creating revisionist history, claiming that their citizens were merely victims and none had collaborated as well. I'm sure that my father, who survived the Warsaw Ghetto and saw much of his family killed in the Polish town of Żyłowice, where the reward for a Polish citizen to turn over a Jew to the Nazis was a loaf of bread and a bottle of vodka, would vehemently disagree if he was still with us. Despite all the photos and documentation and testimonies, we still see Holocaust deniers, not only in the Middle East, but in Middle America as well. So the importance of commemorating the Shoah and teaching its lessons is more crucial than ever. Next week, in a benefit for the memorial, Rabbi Hanoch Teller will be speaking on the holy responsibility of remembrance. This commemoration is a culmination of the efforts of a dedicated committee who has worked for over 8 months to fulfill this holy responsibility. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the committee members, our talented readers and musical guests, the survivors and their families who will be lighting candles later, and all of you who have come out to pay tribute to the Kaddoshim who were killed during the Shoah. May we all have the strength to continue our holy work. We strive each year to have a survivor as our keynote speaker, so we can all hear firsthand what the survivors experienced. Every survivor has his own unique story, and we are blessed to have a number of survivors join us this evening. They are our heroes. To go through what they endured and to have rebuilt their lives is truly inspiring. This, of course, is true of our keynote speaker, Dr. Moshe Avital. Moshe was born in Czechoslovakia and in 1944 was taken to the Berkovo ghetto and shortly thereafter to Auschwitz with his entire family, where his parents were killed. Moshe is a survivor who stood for the selection in front of Mengele in Auschwitz and endured transfers to 6 different camps before being liberated in Buchenwald on April 11, 1945, exactly 73 years ago to the day. Traveling illegally to Palestine, he joined the Haganah and fought in the War of Independence in the Sinai Campaign of 1956. Moshe came to the United States to pursue his studies and has authored 16 books, among them Hope, Faith, and Resilience, What the Germans Could Not Take From Us. He has made it his mission to tell the world of the atrocities of the Shoah and what we could learn from it. He will be speaking in this high school to the students in a few weeks as well. It is my privilege to present to you Dr. Moshe Avital.
Thank you. Good evening. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Jewish Community Council of Greater Teaneck, who organized the Shoah commemoration, for inviting me to be the keynote speaker. Today, as it was mentioned, is the 11th of April. 73 years ago, on this date, I was liberated from Buchenwald concentration camp by the American 3rd Army, 6th Armored Division. I am very thankful to the American forces for their sacrifices, for their devotion after liberation to help those that could yet be helped. One of those liberators was Rabbi Herschel Schechter, who was a chaplain in the American Army. He walked into our barrack, the children's barrack, and he announced in Yiddish, "Jüdische Kinder, ihr seid frei. Jewish children, you are free." For me, this is a happy day, but also a very sad day. Later on in my address, I will explain what has happened at liberation. If the skies were made of parchment, if all the trees were made into pencils, if all the oceans were filled with ink, and every person on this planet became a skilled scribe, the story of the Holocaust would still remain untold. During the Shoah, there were 4 categories of people. The victims, mostly Jews, the murderers, the Germans and their collaborators, who killed with zeal, the bystanders, who looked on, some with satisfaction, others with apathy and indifference. And yes, there were a few Chasidei Umot HaOlam, the righteous of the nations, who saved Jews. The Holocaust is the story of the hunted, the persecuted, and the murdered. It is also the story of the heroism of saintly martyrs, of the courage of the Jews who perished and defied the Nazi terror. In order to understand what we suffered, one must learn to know the kind of a world we had to endure. It was a society in which mass murder was routine, mechanized for economy and efficiency. In this incredible society, a new technology was created. A new vocation of killing was cultivated. Professionals were scientifically trained how to dupe their victims skillfully, to lessen their resistance, how to transfer expeditiously the millions of human cargo to their death, how to select the strong to slave labor, how to depersonalize, terrorize, and dehumanize their victims, to kill at the lowest per capita cost, to process the corpses and extract the maximum profit from them. To the dismay and the disbelief of the Jewish people, the message of hate found receptive ears in many countries. This society was Hitler's inferno. All this industry of killing was planned and executed by a highly developed civilized nation in the very heartland of Europe. It obliterated all the religious, moral, legal considerations and values. Many of the nations and individuals collaborated in the annihilation of their peaceful neighbors who had lived with them for many centuries. It is true that other precious human beings of different nationalities, faiths, and ideologies were also killed by the millions. But it was the Jews who were singled out for the destruction. The Germans said to the other nations, Lechu v'nakchidei migoy, v'lo yizacher shem Yisrael od. Come, let us wipe them out as a nation, and Israel's name will be mentioned no more. The organized, systematic slaughter of 6 million human beings cannot be understood in any rational way. Jewish children were special targets in order to ensure the extermination of future generations, and so were women, the bearers of children. For the Germans, the extermination of the Jews was a fundamental urge and a sacred mission, not a means to other objectives. It was an obsessive hatred toward the Jewish people. This time, it was not just an attempt to deny the Jewish people religious freedom or an end to Jewish sovereignty. The aim was to completely annihilate the Jewish people. The Holocaust was a culmination of centuries of anti-Semitic venom. Our martyrs died because they were Jews. They were killed simply by virtue of being members of a unique nation whose prime characteristics and kindness and holiness, which we inherited from our forefather Abraham. I was born in a shtetl, a town called Bilka in eastern Czechoslovakia. When my country was taken over in March 1939 by the Germans, due to the betrayal of England and France, I was 9 years old. Czechoslovakia was made up of 3 basic ethnic groups: the Czechs, the Slovaks, the Ruthenians. The Jews lived in all 3 areas. The Czech area was annexed to the Third Reich. Slovakia became a Nazi satellite of Germany with Bishop Joseph Tiso as its president. And Ruthenia, where I come from, was awarded to Hungary for joining the Germans in the war. I come from a large family. We were 11 brothers and sisters. I was the youngest. My father was the shochet and chazan cantor of the town. Bilka had a population of 10,000, of whom 2,000 were Jews. Only 80 survived. Bilka had a large synagogue and 4 other smaller houses of worship. In pre-war Czechoslovakia, which was democratic, the Jews lived a tranquil and good life. Soon after the Hungarian occupation, harsh ordinances were decreed against the Jewish inhabitants. They instituted racial laws against the Jews. Every Jew was required to wear a yellow badge, the Jewish Star of David, on the outer garments. The aim of these laws against the Jews was to curtail the normal activities, requiring them to get permission to travel from town to town, engage in trade, or practice their profession. Jews were no longer allowed to own properties. Loss of livelihood, property, and civil rights marked the beginning of the harassment of the Jews by the Hungarian authorities. On Tisha B'Av, in August of 1941, 20,000 Jews from Carpathia were brutally deported to Kamenets Podolsk in the Ukraine, where the Hungarian police, Ukrainian volunteers, and the German Einsatzgruppen, these were the SS mobile killing units, perpetrated a terrible slaughter. 20,000 Carpathian Jews were machine-gunned with brutality and buried in mass graves. Among them was one of my uncles with their 8 children. Hashem Yinkom Damam, may God revenge their deaths. In 1940, the Hungarians conscripted all Jewish males ages 18 to 50 into Munkotabor, which means forced labor battalions. Among them, 3 of my brothers. Most of these forced labor battalions were sent to the Russian front. They dug trenches, bunkers, tunnels. They built rail lines and all kinds of fortifications. Tens of thousands of these Jews in these battalions died from starvation, hard labor, sickness, and the severe winter in Russia. Many of the Bilker who were in these battalions perished in these labor camps, among them 2 of my brothers, Hashem Yinkom Damam. May God revenge their death. Then came the final expulsion of the rest of the Bilker Jews on the last day of Passover. The Hungarian police informed us that the next day we have to report to the yard of the main synagogue and we must leave everything in our homes. We were only allowed to take 25 pounds per person. In the evening, everyone was packing feverishly lifetime precious family items, such as documents, pictures, and religious items. We also packed clothing, bedding, durable food products. All our life needs were capsuled into compact bundles. The next day, the Hungarian police went from house to house to make sure that the Jews are leaving and sealed the houses. In the courtyard of the main synagogue, the Hungarians and local police with their guns and bayonets stood guard and called out the names family after family. After that, the march to the train station began. Since all males 18 to 50 were not with us because they were in the labor battalions, this march was very difficult and took a long time. We tried to help each other carrying the bundles. Among them were my parents, 5 sisters, and their 6 children, myself and a brother, 2.5 years older than me. After a long march, we finally reached the train station where a train of boxcars was waiting for us. We were loaded 100 souls to a boxcar. The Hungarian police with their local helpers pushed us into the boxcars and hurried us because they wanted to get rid of the human cargo. The train ride to Ghetto Berhovo took 2 days because they wanted to get rid of the human cargo as fast as possible. The ghetto was encircled by barbed wire and Hungarian guards. The place we were deposited in was a brick factory. The structures had only a roof and a few supporting poles. No walls, no windows or doors. It was completely open. It was open to the elements. The ghetto management allocated to each family a space according to the number of people in the family. The families were lined up on both sides of this structure. The bedding was spread on the floor before going to sleep. The ghetto management required the men to work in the ghetto as well as in the city of Berhovo. One day, we were ordered to present to the Hungarians all valuables, jewelry, gold, silver, and currency. They placed huge baskets in front of each barrack and sent officials to make sure that the ghetto inhabitants followed the orders. The announcement that whoever will not deposit his valuables said that they will be shot. Life in the ghetto became more difficult as time passed. People were dying from sickness, malnutrition, and persecution. Ghetto Berhovo was emptied in 2 weeks. Each transport carried 3,000 Jews. In one of these transports were my family and I on the way to Auschwitz, the largest slaughterhouse in all of Europe. We were told that we are being moved to a safer place due to the advancing Russian forces, which was a lie. My family and I and other Birker families, 100 souls, were shoved in the boxcars. A container with water and a receptacle for human waste were placed in the car. The doors hermetically closed. It was terribly crowded. It was impossible to sit down. The air was stuffy, and it was hard to breathe. Only a tiny opening was located on the top of the boxcar wall, secured with barbed wire. During the day, the heat was unbearable, and during the night, it was quite chilly. Whatever food we took with us was eaten on the first day of the journey. People were hungry, very hungry. The elderly and children suffered the most from the inhuman conditions. Some people died in the boxcar. The water in the container was gone, and the receptacle with human waste was overflowing. The train continued to ride and stop on and off. The train ride took 5 days. We arrived at the station unknown to anyone in the car. It said Auschwitz. The train barely stopped when the door opened with screams in German. Raus, raus, out, out. Schnell, schnell. Fast, fast, with beating, pushing, and shoving by the SS guards. They spoke a strange language which most of us did not understand. We were bewildered. We did not know where we ended up. We suddenly realized that we arrived in a very strange and brutal place. We saw some odd-looking people dressed in striped clothing. It looked like a coat of many colors. The Germans, with ferocious hunting dogs, were standing around us and ordering us to line up, women and children separately and men separately. We were ordered to leave on the platform the bundles which we brought with us from the ghetto. Every few steps, there were SS men, armed with machine guns aimed at us. This was the moment when I parted from my mother, my sisters, and their dear children. I just saw them disappear into the group of women and children. We didn't have even a moment to say goodbye. My father, my brother, and my brother Yosef and I remained now together just for a few moments. Tired, hungry, broken up, weak, frightened, we stood now in front of the demon Mengele. The women with children and the elderly, you send immediately to the left, to the gas chambers. Although on that moment, we didn't know what it meant to go to the left or to the right. Those who appeared to Mengele as young and able-bodied to work, he directed into the camp. The signal of his finger decided the fate of the Jews who arrived in Auschwitz. Mi yichyeh u'mi yamut, who will live and who shall die right away. Those who were not annihilated immediately were destined to a long, tortured process, which most of the time ended in death or murder. When I stood in front of Mengele, I was 14 years old. I saw that he hesitated for a moment what to do with me. Suddenly, he signaled me to go to the right with my brother Yosef. Sadly, he sent my father to the left side. This was the last time I saw my father, Hashem Yinkom Damo. May God revenge his death. At that time, we didn't know what it meant, which side meant what. Those of us who were destined for slave labor were directed into a huge barrack for disinfection. We were ordered to strip naked and place all our clothes, including our shoes, on a pile. We were then taken into the next room where a number of barbers shaved our hair from head to toe. Then we were forced to immerse ourselves in a pool of disinfectant which had a horrible odor. We entered the shower house to shower. In another room, we were given prisoner striped clothes and wooden shoes. They didn't ask us, what is your size? No, they just threw at you a uniform. They threw at me a huge uniform which I couldn't wear because it was falling off me. I was lucky that right near me there was a husky fellow who got a very small uniform, and we exchanged it, and that's how we were able to wear it. Each one of us received a number by which we were identified by. From now on, no more names, only by number. We followed orders like robots. Our senses were blunted. We came to the realization that we have landed on a strange planet. They took 1,000 prisoners into a huge barrack which had built-in wooden compartments on both sides of the walls. They were 3 stories high. These were our so-called beds. No mattresses, no pillows, no sheets, no blankets. We slept directly on the bare wood. The barrack was administered by a block cultister, a barrack chief, who himself was a prisoner, a German criminal, and the number of capos. Soon after that came a high-ranking SS officer and delivered a speech. He said, and I quote, "You are in the concentration camp Auschwitz. Remember this forever. It's not a recuperating center. It is a concentration camp. Here you must work. Arbeit macht frei. Work is liberty. If not, you will go straight to the furnace, to the crematorium. Work or crematorium. The choice is yours." End of quote. We had to perform all kinds of work: construction, logging things, building roads, working in factories, loading and unloading supplies and military equipment at the train station. There were 2 shifts. Each shift worked 12 hours. People that became sick were sent to the infirmary. Those that entered the infirmary never came back. They injected in their hearts gasoline, and that's how they killed them. Twice a day, we had roll call. The roll call was always a time of torture for us. We had to stand in the rain, cold, snow, wind, or heat. It also served to scare tactics and punishment. The regimentation was the worst part of it. These criminals ran the camp with an iron fist. There is a saying in Mishlei in Proverbs which says, Eved kiyim loch. When a slave becomes a king, that's the worst part of it. At these roll calls, the numbers had to be exact. The Blockältester announced to the SS officer who walked around the rows and looked around, and he said to him, that many are present, that many died during the night, that many are at work, and that many were sent to the infirmary. We were given a small bowl of soup for breakfast, which consisted mostly of colored water. If once in a while one found also we get a very small bowl of soup, and if once in a while one found in the soup a piece of carrot or cauliflower, that was a real treat. We continued to work until 6 p.m. and then marched back to camp. We were constantly guarded by the SS and the Wachmann. These were volunteers from all over Europe who came from Lithuania, Latvia, Ukraine, Poland, Croatia, and even Muslims from Yugoslavia, which the Mufti of Jerusalem, Hajj Amin al-Husseini, recruited for the Germans. At the barrack, we received our supper, the so-called supper, a slice of bread, jam or margarine, and black coffee. We received 700 calories a day. That was our diet. After great stress, tension, and fatigue, we fell on our cramped triple-deckers. At 10 p.m., the sirens were sounded to signal for everyone to be in his barrack. 20 minutes later, the lights were out. Anyone who stepped out of the barrack after curfew was machine gunned by the tower guards without any warning. The camp was surrounded by double barbed wire fence. One of them was electrified. Prisoners who could not endure anymore walked over to the fence and were electrocuted or shot by the tower guards. The meager diet, which consisted, as I said, of 700 calories a day, was very, very small, while we had to perform 12 hours a day of hard labor. We developed all kinds of theories of how to eat this piece of bread in order that it should last longer. Some just ate a crumb and they were hiding it in their bosom. Others cut this slice of bread into 4 pieces, one for breakfast, one for lunch, one for supper, and one before they fell asleep. And there were those that ate it at once because there were prisoners who attacked you and took your bread. This way, if you ate it, it was secure in your stomach. By the time of liberation, we had lost 50% of our weight. I weighed 35 kilograms, about 70 pounds at liberation. From time to time, the Germans conducted selections. During the selection ordeal, one was ordered to strip completely naked. One by one, we had to parade before an SS doctor who observed every move of ours if a prisoner wanted to save himself from certain death, not to be branded a Muslim, a Nazi slang word for a prisoner on the brink of death, he had to gather all the strength he had left in him and run to prove that he is still useful. If the prisoner passed the test, it meant that his life was extended in the meantime. And those that did not pass the test were sent to the crematorium. In Camp Bolkenheim, it was another camp where they sent me to, existed a brutal regime. Prisoners were constantly dying. Many gave up hope and could not endure the suffering anymore. We worked in an airplane factory near the city of Breslau. The winter weather had a great share in our suffering. Our prisoner clothing, which we were given in Auschwitz, we wore in the summer and winter. These prisoner uniforms were very light and thin. The severe winters in Eastern and Central Europe had a great share in the death of many prisoners. It was strictly forbidden to wrap yourself in any garment or paper or whatever. If you were caught, you got 25 lashes. The physical abuse, the hunger, the arduous slave labor, the beating, and the disease undermined our mental balance. No one could get accustomed to the prevailing bestiality. Some of us, especially those who came from religious homes, managed somehow to preserve our human and Jewish spirit and dignity. Others lost all hope and gave up after a while. The daily small piece of bread which was given to us was most valuable, cherished, and precious commodity. We knew that if no miracle happens, we could expect a slow and painful death by starvation. Although I was physically weak, I had strong mental resistance to the German psychological warfare which they conducted against us. The strong will to endure helped me overcome my concentration camp experiences. Most of the time, I did not lose hope that the day would come, the Germans will lose the war, and we will take revenge for their atrocities. The deep faith which was planted in me in our home, in God Almighty, and about the eternity of the Jewish people, and in the Geulah, the redemption that would come one day, helped me to overcome hell on earth. The Germans succeeded to take away everything we had. However, hope, faith, and resilience, they could not take away from us. In January of 1945, orders were given to evacuate Camp Bolkenheim because the Russians were coming closer. This time, they told the truth. We could hear from a distance the artillery duels between the German and Russian armies. The abandonment of the camp, Bolkenheim, began early in the morning. The death march began in a relentless snowfall. It was bitterly cold. The SS guards with loaded machine guns lined up on both sides of the column. They made us hurry and increase the pace with curses such as Judenschwein, dirty Jews, and so on. They were in a hurry to distance themselves at first and from the closing in of the Russian forces. The guards had orders to shoot any prisoner who either stepped out of line or could not keep up with the pace of the group. We dreaded to be marching on the outside rows of the column, which was very dangerous. I will never forget the inhuman treatment by the guards and the entire scene which I witnessed and experienced during these death marches. Many of the prisoners were shot before my eyes without mercy. Some of us tried to help the weaker ones who struggled to keep up with the march in order to save them from certain execution. However, the brutal guards pushed us aside and shot the stragglers. These murderers were trained for this and were immune to human feelings, so they killed in cold blood. During difficult moments, I also wanted to die because I could not stomach these atrocities. The outcry of the victims reached up to the heavens. We were hoping that such brutal scenes would reach the Almighty Himself and will finally intervene and redeem His persecuted children who were being slaughtered. Oceans of tears were shed. However, these tears did not fill the oceans and did not cause a flood on the sinful and defiled continent of Europe. We had a brutal choice, either to give in to the SS murderers, to be shot, or to try to overcome the grief and continue on and hope for redemption. All this time, we marched like robots. We were just dragging our feet and our bodies. Prisoners were collapsing constantly in the snow. I want to tell you a story which happened at one of the marches. One of the guards gave his backpack to a prisoner to carry it for him. After a while, the prisoner opened up the backpack and he saw that there is food in it. He ate as much as he could and he gave to the people around him, and then he threw away the backpack. And after a while, the guard is looking for the prisoner. He wanted his backpack, but he couldn't recognize him because all of us looked alike. We had the same prisoner clothes. The snow was coming down relentlessly and we were covered with snow. We were emaciated. Our eyes were sticking out. So he was looking and looking and couldn't find him. So he went over to the commandant and told him what happened. The commandant announced that whoever took the pack should come forward. Nobody moved. A second time he announced, nobody moved. Finally he says, if within 2 minutes the person who took the backpack doesn't come forward, every 10th prisoner will be shot. The 2 minutes passed, nobody moved. We didn't know who it was, and even if we would have known, we wouldn't have told. So they started to take every 10th person and they lined them up. And just before they were about to execute these poor prisoners, a prisoner came forward and says, I was the one who did it because I was hungry. The commandant comes over to him. He takes out his pistol and shoots him and throws him to the side of the road. I'm asking you, do you think this was the real person or it was a volunteer because he realized that hundreds of Jewish prisoners are going to pay with their lives? We thought that it was somebody that volunteered. At night, we were herded into barns and other large structures in the villages guarded by the SS and the Wachmann. Hungry and frozen from the fierce cold, we huddled together to get some warmth. We were crowded in like sardines in a can, but that was to our advantage because the body warmth kept us alive. This happened day after day for 5 weeks. We marched hundreds kilometers, 500 kilometers from Bolkenheim in Silesia, which is between Poland and Germany, to Weimar, Germany. The cold, the hunger, the fatigue, and the long imprisonment hit us all at once. Death was hunting us every step of the way, even without being shot by the guards. Within me, there was a fierce determination to survive, which became a driving force behind the everlasting battle against hunger. This was a form of resistance in the face of the German death wish for all prisoners. After 5 weeks of marching, we finally reached the infamous concentration camp of Buchenwald near the city of Weimar. It was late at night when we arrived at the gate. The guards opened them and we were led to the Appellplatz, the roll call plaza. Only 400 of us out of 10,000 that left Bolkenheim survived. You'll excuse me for a moment. I was sent to the little lager, the small lager, the Klein Lager, to Barrack 66, the children's barrack. And the same lager was Elie Wiesel and Rabbi Naphtali, Rabbi Lau, Israel Lau, and his brother Naphtali. And some other 500 teenagers that they all came to Buchenwald from the camps that they went on death marches. Buchenwald was a very large concentration camp, subdivided into smaller entities, separated by barbed wire. It had 80,000 prisoners before liberation. 2 weeks before liberation, Buchenwald got an order to evacuate or to annihilate the entire camp. 2 weeks, only 20,000 remained alive after liberation. At the end of March 1945, we learned all kinds of rumors that the Americans were nearby. Many people were dying every day. Now it was a race with time. It was a question of who would arrive first, the Americans or death. Thousands of men were lying, dying of malnutrition, of sickness. Our spirits rose and fell according to the rumors we heard. After liberation, we found out a few crucial facts which had direct bearing on the lives of our lives during the last days before liberation. On April 7th, 1945, an order was issued by the Nazi hierarchy to annihilate all prisoners in Buchenwald. The Americans intercepted a train with hundreds of Hitler youth, who were ordered to go to Buchenwald to help the SS to annihilate all the prisoners and help destroy the camp installations. 4 days before liberation, the Buchenwald command systematically began to empty the camp prisoners barrack by barrack. The prisoners were driven to the main gate of the camp. From there, they were marched into the forest, which encircled Buchenwald. In the forest was hidden a large contingent of SS in trucks covered with canvas. In the trucks were heavy machine guns. As the prisoners arrived deep in the forest, the canvas was removed and the shooting commenced. This massacre repeated itself for 4 days, barrack after barrack, until our turn came, the children's barrack. The barrack chief of the children's barrack was a fine Czech gentleman, not Jewish. He was a principal of a public school. He was sent to Buchenwald because he was anti-German. During our stay in his barrack, he tried to help us teenagers in any way he could. Now, he marched at the head of the children. At this critical moment, he was with us. As we were marching to the gate, we could hear the shooting coming from the forest. As I was dragging my feet, I felt that this is the end. I was praying to God and asking for justice and mercy by saying the passage from Psalm 121, which I remembered, Shir Lamalot, Esa Enai El Hearim, Me'ain Yavo Ezri. From where shall come my help? We inched nearer and nearer to the gate. I was praying for a miracle. Well, a miracle did happen. At that moment, the sirens of the camp began to wail as if they were crying. The gate closed and the SS men ran for cover. Suddenly, American fighter bombers appeared in the sky, dropping bombs around the camp and strafed the SS barracks. Our barrack chief ordered us to run back into the barrack. I had to crawl back since I was very weak. It was hard for me to walk. The prayer of the biblical Samson entered my thoughts. I prayed to God and said, Zochreini na v'chaskeni na achapam hazeh. O Lord God, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me only this once. The bombing went on for hours until late at night. This was the first time during my incarceration that I saw the master race run for cover. We didn't know what was going on. Suddenly, we saw the SS sentries leaving the lookout post towers around the camp. At noon, 3 American tanks and a jeep broke through the gate, and on these tanks were the soldiers of the 3rd Army, the 6th Armored Division. They entered the camp. On the jeep was Rabbi Herschel Schechter, who came into our barrack and announced in Yiddish, Jiddische Kinder, ihr seid frei. Jewish children, you are free. The Americans were shocked when they saw our faces, our skeletons, the piles of dead bodies in the forest, inside and outside of the barracks. They cried. Some of the prisoners were hugging and kissing the American soldiers. They were our angels for whom we waited such a long time. The day of liberation in Buchenwald was the happiest and saddest day of my life. Now started the struggle to stay alive. I was very weak and ill. My body was skeletal. My legs were swollen from hunger. There is a saying in Yiddish, a Mensch ist starker von Eisen und schwacher von a Flieg, which means a person is stronger than iron and weaker than a fly. During the Holocaust, I felt strong in spirit because I had this iron will to survive. But on the other hand, there were moments when I felt helpless and weak as a fly. The Americans organized a rescue operation. They placed the sick in makeshift hospitals in the former SS quarters. Soldiers, nurses, and doctors worked around the clock to try to save those who could yet be saved. For a while, I was hovering between life and death. They watched over me very carefully. After a few weeks, I showed signs of improvement. Was it an angel watching over me? It must have been. The fact that I survived hell on earth and I am able to tell the story of my own Holocaust is an indication that Netzach Yisrael lo yishaker, there is a guardian of Israel. On the 73rd anniversary of the liberation of the camps, we say to the souls of our people murdered in Europe, Europe's darkest night, we will never forget you. We will not stop mourning you. We will not let you die until the Jews can walk the world without fear. We will be witnesses to the God of life, who told us, "Uvacharta b'chaim," choose life against those who choose death. From the depths of the destruction, we survivors brought forth a new spirit to rebuild our lives, to establish families, to raise a wonderful generation of children and grandchildren, the living bridge between our past and our future. We have instilled in them pride of our heritage. They are the links in our unbroken chain of the Jewish people. In conclusion, I would like to say two major events in our time drastically changed the course of Jewish history. One, the Holocaust, the destruction of European Jewry with its rich cultural and spiritual creation. And the second, the restoration of Jewish independence in the land of Israel and the ingathering of the exiles after 2,000 years. One cannot understand Jewish life today without a thorough knowledge of these two events. I was part of these two events. For the first one, I paid a heavy price. I lost 14 precious souls, my immediate family, and 200 of my extended family. And the second one, I am proud to say that I participated in the War of Independence as a member of the Haganah. When I was in the camps, people were dying every day, and we were talking to each other and saying, we will all die here, and nobody will even know what happened. If by any chance or by God's grace, one of us will survive, please tell the world what happened. I made a vow, that if I survive, I'm going to speak about it, I'm going to write about it, and I made it my mission to do so. I have written books in Yiddish and Hebrew, and 4 books in English. The first one, Not to Forget, Impossible to Forgive, which has my life story before, during, and after the Shoah. The second, The Failure of Man and the Enigma of God's Silence. The third one, And There Was Courage, stories of heroism. And finally, Hope, Faith, and Resilience, which the Germans could not take from us. In Auschwitz and other concentration camps, the Germans had a slogan, Arbeit macht frei. We survivors say, Am Yisrael Chai. The Jewish people go on living. Thank you.
The music for Mein Städtele Bells was written by Alexander Olshanetsky, and the lyrics by Jacob Jacobs in 1932 for the play Ghetto Song as a tribute to the famous singer Isaac Kremer. The song later appeared in Dem Chazen's Sohn, The Cantor's Son, a 1937 film that marked the screen debut of the great singer Moshe Osher. In the movie, Moshe plays the cantor's son who leaves Belz, his hometown in the western Ukraine near the border with Poland, to seek fame and fortune in America. After he becomes very rich beyond his wildest dreams, he comes back home to surprise his parents on their 50th wedding anniversary. As he approaches the familiar village, he sings Mein Städtele Bells, a song which evokes the fond memories he has of his childhood home. Teil mir Alter, teil mir Geschwind, weil ich will wissen, alles erzählen. Wie saltest du Stiebel, was hat einmal geglanzt, zu blöd noch das Bämmerle, was ich hab verpflanzt. Der Stiebel ist alt, verwachsen mit Mochengrus. Der alte Tag zum Feld, der Fenster und der Gluss, der Garnig ist grün, zu beugen die Welt. Du weißt was schon mehr, gar nicht erkennt, der Garnig ist grün, zu beugen die Welt. Du weißt das schon mehr, gar nicht erkennt. mein Städtele Bells. In euren Stiebel mit alle Kinderlach dort gelacht. Jeden Schabbos pfleg ich laufen dort mit der Schiene gleich. Zu sitzen unter dem grünen Bäumele, leinen bei dem Teich. Bells, mein Städtele Bells, mein Himmele, wo hab gehad die Scheulecha, Leumas Azach. Jeden Schabbos pfleg ich laufen dort mit der Schiene gleich. Zu sitzen unter dem grünen Bäumele, leinen bei dem Teich. Bells, mein Städtele Bells, mein Himmel, wo hab gehad die Scheunecha, Leumes Azach. The next song is called Ani Ma'amin. This haunting melody is attributed to Azriel David Fastag, a Mudjitzer Chassid, whose compositions were regularly sung in the court of the Mudjitzer Rebbe, Rabbi Shaul Yedidya Elazar. He reportedly composed this tune in a cattle car while being taken to Treblinka. Fastag announced that he would give half of his share of the world to come to whomever would bring this tune to the Mudjitzer Rebbe, who had escaped Europe previously in 1940. Two men took him up on his offer and leaped from the moving train. One died from the fall, but the other survived and eventually brought the tune to the Rebbe's son in Israel, who sent his father the musical score. The tune was sung by dozens of Jews as they marched to the gas chambers in the Nazi death camps. In addition to Yom HaShoah, some also sing it at the Pesach Seder in memory of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, which began on the first night of Passover in 1943. Mashiach, ani ma'amin. For the final song, we'd like to call back the Yeshivat Noam Choir led by Craig Resmovitz. The last song is called Zognit Kein Mol, also referred to as Partisanerlied or partisan song. This song is considered one of the chief anthems of Holocaust survivors and is sung at Holocaust memorial services around the world. The lyrics of the song were written in 1943 by Hersh Glick, a young Jewish inmate of the Vilna ghetto. The title means never say and derives from the first line of the song. Never say that you have reached the final road. During World War II, Zognit Kein Mol was adopted by a number of Jewish partisan groups operating in Eastern Europe. It became a symbol of resistance against Nazi Germany's persecution of the Jews and the Holocaust. Let's all stand up and sing this last song together.
geest de nächsten Weg. Verschinnen bleien auf verstellen blaue Tag. Verkommen weg nach unser ausgebildete Show. Es wird ab heute und sie drückt mir seinen Daumen. Verkommen weg nach unser ausgebildete Show. Es wird ab heute und sie drückt mir seinen Daumen. Von grünen Palmenland bis weißen Land von Stein. Wir bleiben und sind fein mit unser Weg. Und wo gefreien ist das Strins von unser Blut. Schnatzen weg dort unser Bruder, unser Blut. Und wo gefreien ist das Strins von unser Blut. Schnatzen weg dort unser Bruder, unser Blut. Never say that you are going your last way. The time alone after you are dead. The hour for which you long will certainly appear. The earth shall underneath our tread that we are here. The hour for which we long will certainly appear. The earth shall underneath our tread that we are here. Sorg mit kein Beruf, die Gäste nächsten Weg. Verschiedene Bleien auf verstellen neue Tag. Verkommen weg nach unser ausgebildete Schau. Schwert ab heute unser Trocken seine Tau. Verkommen weg nach unser ausgebildete Schau. Schwert ab heute unser Trocken seine Tau.
Thank you.
Tehillim Mizmor Chaf Gimel, Psalm 23, first in the Hebrew, followed by the English. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai Roi Lo Echsar, Binoteh Shayar Bitzeini, Al mei minuchot yinah nafshi yishovev yancheni b'maglei tzedek leman shemo gam ki eleich begeitz al mavet lo irara ki ata imadi Shivtecha umishantecha heima yenachamuni taroch lefanai shulchan neged saviroi tishanta vashemen roshi kosi rivaya ach tov v'chesed Yerdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti b'veit Adonai, li'orech yamim. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He revives my soul. He guides me in the right paths for his name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they will comfort me. You spread a table for me in the sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overfloweth. Surely goodness and kindness will follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for many years to come.
We continue with our commemoration of both survivors and survival. It is hard to believe that Kristallnacht was 80 years ago, and how many years and tears have passed since the official effort to permanently extinguish the flame of world Jewry. We are now 73 years post the liberation of the concentration camps. From the bleak and black darkness of that spite-filled slaughter emerged the survivors who struggled to rekindle the embers of the nearly smothered light of our lost, but certainly not last, generation. We will in a moment be asking the survivors seated at tonight's commemoration to rise, candles in hand, turn and stand facing our Teaneck Bergenfield community. As we gaze upon the few remaining pinpoints of light, we honor these glowing lights as we remember our extinguished ones. We honor your bravery and remember the glory of our martyrs. We honor your strength and fortitude as we remember the strength and fortitude of our lost ones. We honor the commitment and perseverance of our survivors and hope that we have the strength to carry that brightly lit torch which emanated from their embers. I now ask the survivors to rise, candles in hand, and face those assembled for tonight's commemoration. Please be seated. As in past years, we will be reciting the names of those lost in the Shoah, relatives of members of our own community. With each family name and all the individuals within that family comes a face, a story, and a long history, and a painful realization that a branch of that family tree was traumatically severed. We mourn until this very day for having lost our most prized possession, a generation of our people. At tonight's commemoration, the 6 million will be symbolically represented by 6 survivors.
Edith Berjou from Vienna, Austria. Her family escaped to Czechoslovakia. For 3 years, she was in hiding with her uncle and his family in their factory. They were in a hidden room under the attic floorboard. The Nazis came to search the attic but did not find the secret floorboard.
Claire Birnbaum from Vienna, Austria. Her parents were both jailed on the night of the Anschluss. Claire's mother was released after 8 to 10 days. Her father remained in jail for more than 3 months. After waiting in Italy for transit papers, the family went by boat to what was then Palestine, where Claire grew up and served in the Israeli army. She came to the United States in 1953.
Gisela Friedman from Hamburg, Germany, the only child of Selma and Thomas Platter, a successful businessman. The family was sent to the Lodz ghetto in 1940 and managed to survive there until the liquidation of the ghetto in 1944. With the war reaching its end, they ended up in Neustadt, Germany, where they were liberated by the English on May 3rd, 1945.
Renee Glick from Budapest, Hungary. Renee, the youngest of 6 children, was subjected to the anti-Semitic policies of the pro-Nazi Hungarian Arrow Cross Party, including discrimination, unemployment, property loss, segregation, starvation, and forced labor. She fortuitously avoided several roundups for deportation to Auschwitz just before being liberated by the Russian army.
Magdalena Dvora Hilsenrath from Teaneck, Hungary, deported to Auschwitz at age 14. Dvora never saw any of her immediate family again after that forced separation. She had a cousin who was interned with her. The two cousins were forced on the death march from Auschwitz. Her cousin encouraged Dvora to escape from the march while everyone was asleep, which they did. They eventually sought refuge at a farm without revealing that they were Jews.
Toby Isaac from Bardechov, Slovakia. She was 13 years old and frail when her parents placed her with an aunt and uncle on a farm while they went into hiding with her sister in a different town. Toby and her aunt and uncle were transported to a Nazi labor camp in Slovakia where she worked in a factory sewing. When the Russians pushed the Nazis back, Toby hid in the Tatra Mountains, which harbored many people who were attempting to hide, including partisans. The names that you're about to hear should serve as inspiration to remind all of us that what is essential is that all Israel of the past, present, and future be bound together for Jewish survival. May God dry our tears and give us a clear vision and the moral and spiritual strength to continue where our departed have left off. These we have lost. The family of Nurit and Gary Carter.
The Adlers, the Hasenfratzes, the family of Peter and Ruth R. Adler.
The Stearns, the family of Seymour and Rivki Adler.
Devora Esther Adler, the Winselbergs, the family of Daniel and Gabrielle Altman.
The Altmans, the Blues, the Goldmans, Yitzhak Yarblum, Miriam Nadel, the family of Charles and Joanne Bacall.
The Bacalchuks, the Scharfs, the family of Shirley and Hadley Bach.
The Bachs, the Reinfelds, the Schwartzes, the Grosses, the family of Zit and Kenneth Bander.
The Davidoviches, Rosie Einhorn, Petza Farkas, Joska Fogel, and two sisters, the Kassirers, the Shiners, Shlomi Stein, the Stobers, Bella Viter and family, Mariam Wolf. The family of Shlomo and Sarah Barber.
Sarah Bamel-Golva, Dvora Golva Krieger, Tina Golova Katz, Miriam and Moshe Morgenstern, Shimon Golova, Joseph Safran, the Barbers, the Bernsteins, the Herrings, the Krumpelholzes, the Schnitzers, the Weissblums, the Zilbermans, the family of Moshe and Pasi Rosen-Beowitz.
Chaya Mordechai, Ephraim Fischel Rosenhutz, the Rosens. The family of Helene and Peter Bentz.
The Berliners, the Jonases, Isidore Meister, the family of Rochelle Choina-Berger.
Yisrael Yaakov Choina, the Coopers, the Sabutskis. The family of Laszlo and Edna Berkovitz.
The Berenses, the Grunspans, the Berkovitzes, the Waltener family, the family of Bruno Bieler.
The Bielers, the Gerstens, the family of Brian and Cindy Goldstein Blitz.
The Goldsteins, the Levies, the family of Gilbert Bob.
The Ailes, the Bobs, Golda Tinter Braunfeld, the Fines, the Gimpels, Shmaria Tinter. The family of Eleanor and Frank Breslau.
Carl Breslau, the family of Leora Netter Brovman.
The Ratners, the Einsteins, the Epsteins, the Naryalanskis. The family of Rose and Noah Bernstein.
The Bernsteins, the Mandels, the Schwartzes, the family of Ephraim and Chava Kasper.
The Shkalevskis, the family of Fega, Pearl, Fishman, Cohen.
The Berkowitzes, the Fishmans, the Goldmans, the family of Lynn Engelberg Damari.
The Einhorns, the Schumans, the family of Barry and Ellen Finkelstein Down.
The Coopermans, the Lebsellers, the family of Sam and Fran Ebel.
The Ebels, the Davidowitzes, the Grosses, the Lazars, the Makovska, the Strulwitzes, the Wishners. The family of Arlene Steinlauf Ice and Arthur Ice.
The Browns, the Goldners, the Stearns, the family of Phyllis Goldman Eisenman.
The Feldmans, the Goldmans, the Klogsfelds, the Lipskers, the Nymans, the Saltmans. The family of Toby Engelhard Isaac.
The Englards, the Goldsteins, the family of Amy Elfman.
The Elfmans, the Sidurskis. The family of Herzl and Deborah Isaac Eliyahu and Teresia Toby Isaac.
The Schoenfelds, the Bleilers, the Bruders, the Ejaks, the Lorbers, the Rosenwassers, the Zeifs, the family of Renee Epstein.
The Rosensteins, the Gunzenhausers. The family of Jeffrey and Susan Erdfarb.
The Erdfarbs, the Turkells, the Yaverbaums, the family of Hilary F. and Martin Fine.
The Fonfines, the family of Shimon and Goldie Feld.
The Battalions, the Bursteins, the Feldfabers, the Hendlisches, the Malins, the Orlovskis, the Radziners, the Rubensteins, the Solomons, the Steinbachs, the Trymans, the Zuckermans, the family of Charles and Rella Levenstein Feldman.
Malka Ankerman, the Banaks, the Dulles, the Levensteins, Bela Levenstein Pentiro, Yisrael Orkovsky, Moshe Wolnerman. The family of Marty and Leora Adler Feinberg.
The Adlers, Nomi Eisner, the family of Carol and Jack Forgash.
The Kaufmans, the family of Kenneth Fox.
The Fuchses, the Grunbergs, the Blumenthals, the family of Steve and Sherry Fox.
The Fuchses, the Wexlers, the family of Jerry and Eleanor Rohr Frankel.
The Abrahams, Lubovitzes, the Rohrs, the family of Morton and Esther Friedman.
The Friedmans, the Gassells, the Dermecks, the Katzenellenbaums, the Schneeweises, the Shines, the Salkoviches, the Katzes, the Zandis, the Kahns. The family of Paula and Howard Friedman.
Max and Rose Joseph, the family of Isaac Fromm.
Philip and Hilda Fromm, Chaya Fromm, Sarah Glickstein. The family of Dror and Karen Siegel-Futter.
The Rosenbergs, the Katzes, Meyer Zaluski, the family of Stefan Gelb and of Miriam Holmes.
The Abelises, the Hochsites, the Kirschenbaums, 2 children of Idel and Kasil Gewurz, Chava and Nachman Jakubowitz and family, Brandel and Simcha Kahan and 4 children, Toba and Moshe Treiber and family, the Kleinmans, the Mendlowitzes, the Rosenwassers, the Roths, the family of Andrew and Beverly Geller.
The Kolaches, the Schickis, the family of Nate and Lynn Light Geller.
The Pines family, the Mirsky family, the Chinovics, the Glucks family. The family of Anna Tsukir Gerard.
The Sukirs, the Gerards, the family of Rose Gersberg.
The Weingardens, the Adlers, the Sushmans, the Fingerhooks. The family of Peter Glick and Toby Reisbaum Glick.
The Glicks, the Greenspans, the Kassirers, the Reisbaums, the family of Ira and Renee Stein Getz.
The Getzes, Herman Marks, Yitzhak Schoenfeld and family. The family of Phyllis and David Goldschmidt.
Lucy Goldschmidt, the Basiglis, the family of Karen and Sam Groner.
The Groners, the family of Maurice and Felicia Lou Grossman.
The Kahanas, the Levs, the Lebersteins, Freddie Leberstein Zucker, Balbina Leberstein Guzik, the family of Kurt and Mara Gruskin.
The Berger family of Munich. The family of Jack Hamburg.
Avram Yoel and Devorah Buchner Hamburg, Shimon Hamburg. The family of Philip Hanfling.
The Hanflings, the Lerners. The family of Roz and Alan Hantman.
The Franks, the family of Jeanette Lifshitz Heistein and Deborah Lifshitz Veach.
The Lifshitzes, the Zuckermans, the Liebermans. The family of Arnon Hiller.
Esther Silberlicht, the family of Dennis and Arlene Hirschfelder.
Isidore Hirschfelder. The family of Barbara and Simcha Hachman.
The Deutsches, the Gedalis, the Cohens, the family of Rachel and Avi Hochstein.
Ita Goldberg, the Scala family. The family of Kenny and Janet Andron Hoffman.
The Schwartzes, the family of Aviva, David, and Zahava Horowitz.
The Kaufmans, the Horowitzes, the Rotenbergs, the Weisses. The family of Phil and Janet Hyman.
The Hechs, the family of Charles and Helen Mintz-Eikowitz.
The Mintzes, the Eikowitzes, the Glazers, the Klutzes. The family of David and Marcia Jacobowitz.
The Benchkovskis, the Eisens, the Liebermans, the Nasibirskis, the Rosenwalds, the Wallmans, the Jakoboviches, the Zarnoviskis, the Topel Jaskol family.
The Topels, the Kozlovskis, the Jaskulkas, the Rosenbergs. The family of David and Richard Kahn.
The Kahns, the family of Joseph Kaplan.
Zali Abraham, Viola Brecher, and 3 children. The Browns, Goldie Davidovitz, husband and 3 children. Leubisch Gottman, the Kaplans, the Kleins. Esti Zuckerman, husband and 2 children. The family of Sharon Penkauer Kaplan.
The Hersteins, the family of Hannah and Brian Katz.
The Zaxes, the family of Rivi Kanarik Katz.
The Borensteins, the Grunbaums, the family of Betty Gutwein Kay.
The Derovans, the Gutweins, the Rosenbergs, Naomi Sampson. The family of David and Suzanne Kelson.
The Herbs, the Kelsons, Flora Kirschheimer, the family of Daniel and Janice Klein.
The Kleins, the Kahans, the Leibowitzes. The family of Shari and Philip Klein.
Shalom Bergstein, the Chernovskis, the Machabenskis, the Zilbermanses, the Herrings, the Hirschhorns, the family of Mark and Naomi Noller.
Ludwig and Eva Noller, Max and Ross Joseph, Rosa Joseph. Arthur Zucker. The family of Michael and Regina Meyers Koenig.
The Koenigs, the Farkases, the Fuchses, the Meyeroviches, Wolf Yakubovich, Cyril Hirsch. The family of Eleanor Cohen and Barry Obit.
The Glasses, the Cohns, the Strausses. The family of Reuben Kulik and Francis Flug.
The Flugs, the Brauners, the family of Joyce and Joseph Korn.
The Korns, the Schwartzes. The family of Bernard and Jill Cornmel.
The Laders, the Cornmells, the family of Susan Haberman Dworkenkoss.
The Fischers, Udil Haberman Fischer, the Habermans, Scheindel Freund Haberman, Philip Hoffman, the family of Leib Koifman.
The Koifmans, the Schwartzmans, the family of Martin and Linda Seletsky Krar.
The Freilichs, the Seletskys, the Cedars, the Weiner Wagner family, the family of Razy Krinsky.
The Goldmans, Sarah Goldman Locker and her family, the family of Walter and Marion Horngrad Krug.
Marianne Adler, the Horngrads, the Jassers, the Krugs, the family of Charlotte and Nathan Krugman.
The Hertzes, the Breslauers, the Reutlingers, the Strausses, the family of Manny and Judy Landau.
The Landaus, the Weitzners, the Flateaus, the Zuckermans. The family of Esther Lauber and Alvin Reinstein.
The Blondes, the Laubers, the Embarrasses, the Reinsteins, the family of Millie Kaplansky-Leben and Ella Kaplansky-Hyman.
The Kaplanskys, the Kinas, the Kudlas, the Nowaks, the Schleiger family. The family of Eve and Ralph Lee.
The family of Aviva Lefel.
The Moskowitzes. The family of Alden and Evelyn Leifer.
The Flateaus, the Lipmanoviches, the Rosenbaums, the Schlissels, the family of Eileen Leisner and Barry Winokur.
Nechama Cohn, Fager Horn, the Leisners. The family of Mark and Dina Weiss Levy.
The Siegeltuchs, the Weisses, the Borgers, Valdemir Levy, the Solomons, the family of Robert and Helen Belsenbaum Levine.
The Hoffmans, the Landaus. The family of Toddy and Trudy Newman Levine.
The Schlesingers, the family of Anne Wolfowitz Lukowitz.
The Liedermans, Chaya Lukowitz, Yehuda Singer, the Wolfowitzes, Simcha Yaskowitz. The family of Eva Liebman.
The Bachs, the Buxbaums, the Kahns, the Künzlers, the Liebmans, the Oppenheimers, the Rinbergs, the Schwartzes, the Wallensteins, the family of Yocheved and Nathan Lindenbaum.
The Grunbergers, the Elbogans, the family of Beverly Luchfeld and Jack Flamholtz.
The Flamholtzes, the Honigsfelds, the Kleiners, the Luchfelds, Saria Mergenstein, the Mendels, the Prosers, the Nymans, the Silbersteins, the family of Jeanette Messing-Malka and Lauren Malka-Reese.
The Messings, the Wolkenbergs, the family of Ralph and Judith Marcus.
The Gernsheimers, the Strausses, the family of Shlomo and Hilary Margolovich.
Bertha Berger, Heinrich Hermann, Hermine Saxel, Arthur and Ida Tach. The Markel, Ender, Givan, and Simkin families.
Moshe and Cyril Aaron, the Suplowitzes, the Frolingers, Gitta Simkin, the family of Danny and Carol Singer Metzger.
The Singers, the family of Anita and Jerry Milch.
Yosef and Gittel Hillman, the family of Barry and Evelyn Gitter Morris.
Solomon Gitter, the Laufers, the Nagelbergs, the Nessels, the Stearns, the Sushers. The family of Noel and Judy Berjou Moldovan.
The Berjous, the Cohens, the family of Dov Nahari.
The Teisches, the Knorr family.
The Brudners, the Eppelmans, the Alovitzers, the family of Rena Wagner Novogradsky.
The Wagners, the Schallers. The family of Arona and Milton Oring.
The O-Rings, the family of Mashi and Bob Oppenheimer.
The Goldbergers, the Teitelbaums, the Schwartzes, the Mazes, the Seligs. The family of Judy Ornstein and Gabby Muth.
The Levies, the Moose, the Orensteins, the Tellers, the family of Harold and Esther Strauss Pearl.
The Berkowitzes, the Hershkowitzes, the Strausses, the Kohlhagens, the Halberstadts, the Posens, Vega Gittel Hach, the Pearls, Rachel Posen and daughter, Malka Wurzberger. The family of Susan and Bob Rapkin.
Rachel Schachter, the Stearns, the family of Philip and Marlene Hoffman Rhodes.
The Hoffmans, Serena Konigsbach, the Radoskovitz family, the family of Inga and Charles Roman.
Leopold Roman, the Edelsteins, the Leopolds, the Strausses, the family of David and Susan Rosenbaum.
The Kuyavskis, the Rosenbaums, the family of Jean and Toby Roth Rosenberg.
The Ross, the Browns, Fager Hershkovitz, the family of Saul Gelbard Rosenberg.
The Gelbergs, the Schlafmicks, the Sebnicks, the Oslenders, Moishe Rosen, the family of Rabbi Harvey and Dr. Barbara Hahn Rosenfeld.
The Hans, the Pachs, the Launderers, the family of Martin Rosenfeld.
The Samuels, the Markoviches, the Heiners, the Rosenfelds, the family of Aubie and Menorah Rotenberg.
The Gerays, the family of Joseph and Barbara Rosenzweig Rotenberg.
The Rosenzweigs, the Rotenbergs, the Klugs, the family of Frieda Rotmill and Pauline and Alan Rotmill.
The Bernsteins, the Frankels, Rachel Rotmill-Nashetsky, Jacques Nashetsky, the Rotmills, the Schwebisches, Pearl Werbner, the family of Israel and Miriam Kitiavitz Solomon.
The Kitiewitzes, the Koplowitzes, the Solomons, Chana Shemaiah and daughters, Naftali Springer, Rachel Zimmetbaum Springer, the the family of Arlene and Michael Sand.
The Sands, the Sommers, Charna Newman, Helen Berkowitz and family, Shlomo Breiner and family, the family of Rabbi J.J. and Yocheved Weisbord Schachter.
The Weisbords, the family of David and Sharon Shield.
The Steins, the Shields, the family of Charlene and Myron Schulman.
The Honigs, the Malameds, the family of Joseph and Deborah Glott Schuster.
The Glotts, the Friedmans, the Goldrads, the Cormans, the family of Tammy and Kenny Sasemski.
Laser and Dubush Yutkovitz, Sarah and Shia Wolf Mauskopf, David Siegelman, the Sasemskis, the Goldbergs. The family of Yetta Marchuk Selengut and Charles Selengut.
The Gold Samlers, the Katzes, the family of Agi Seletsky, Jerry Barta, and Judy Damian.
The Blaus, the Browns, the Frisches, the Greenblatts. The family of Larry and Blanche Hampel Silver.
The Eisensteins, the Fivoloviches, the Jacoboviches, the family of Hannah Simmons.
The Mintzers, the Waxmans, the family of Gedalia and Elisheva Sinensky.
The Sinenskis, the Moskowitzes, the Indigs, the family of Alex Solomon.
The Solomons, the family of Roy and Devorah Aftel Spiewak.
The Aftels, Alter Haftel, the Liebermans, the family of Samuel and Gilda Engel Spinett.
The Gewurzes, Esther and Rachel. The family of Kalman and Elke Kreiter-Stein.
The Mermelsteins, the Rosners, the family of Philip and Shelley Stein.
The Geltners, the family of Harold I. and Beryl J. Steinbach.
Rashida Steinbach, the Feldfabers, the Orlovskis, the Odenbergs, the Zaxes, the Halperins, the Schwartzes, Moshe Bloom, the Zeislers, the family of Ronnie and Beth Stern.
The Sterns, the Lieblings, the Ehrlichs, Samuel Zweig, Joseph Klein. The family of Yitz and Gila Stern.
The Sterns, the Grossman Pollocks, the Fromers, the Loeys, the family of Felice Zimmern Stokes.
The Zimmerns, the family of Bennett and Linda Storfer.
The Storfers, the family of Justin and Robin Strauss.
The Strausses, the Hilbs, the Berliners. The family of Jean Strauss.
Heinz Eisenbacher, the Irma Lieb, the Schlossbergers, the Strausses, the Orensteins, the Lowensteins, the Hymans. The family of Margie and Abner Strauss.
The Bachs, the Reinfelds, the family of Norbert and Dorothy Strauss.
The Strausses, the Kohlhagens, the Halberstadts, the Posens, the Melsers, Alexander Karpov, the family of Mike and Marilyn Taffet.
The Taffets, the family of Debbie and Mark Teicher.
The Lowingers, the Gottliebs, the Friedmans, the family of Deborah and Glenn Tolchin.
The Geishals family, the Lorbers, the family of Marcia and Robert Trins.
The Blooms, the Eichbaums, the family of Nachum and Sivia Levovitz-Tversky.
The Levovitzes, the Twerskys, the family of Helene and Sylvan Wallenstein.
The Shores, Betty Meyer, Martha and Adolf David, the family of Irma David Strauss, Regina and Jacob Ice, the family of Alice Wien.
The Hershkovitzes, the Koppitz, the Rosenfelds, the family of David and Ruth Velkovich, and Robert and Sarah Velkovich Goodman.
The Altmans, the Grosses, the Kleins, the Velkoviches, the family of Jeanette Stebetsky-Wormuth.
The Kirschheimers, the family of Henry Wertheimer.
Margot Koenig and Nathan Wertheimer, the family of Gilda Messing-Winters.
The Messings, the Brands, the Wachtels, the family of Francis Ginsberg Wolf and Ed Wolf.
The Ginsbergs, the Koscianskas, the Wolfs, the family of Barbara and Neil Yaros.
The Rabinowiches, the Spiegels, the family of Irving and Marilyn Zeidel.
The Greenbergs, the Laders, the Strasburgs, the Yuskoviches, the Zeidels, the family of Morris and Elaine Zimmerman.
The Browners, the Markowitzes, the Zimmermans, the family of Phyllis and Sandy Zlotnick.
The Fleischers, the Zlotnicks. Tiena nafshotehem tzrurot, b'tzror hachayim. May their souls be bound in the bond of eternal life.
Please rise. Yitkadal v'yiskadash shemei Rabbah b'yalma divrach Yerusei v'yamlich malchusei b'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei d'chol beis Yisrael ba'agala v'zman koriv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach li'olam elomei olmaya. Yisbarach v'yishtabach v'yispar v'yisromam v'yisnasei v'yishadar v'yishalev v'yishalol shmei dekudasha b'richu. Le'ela min kol berchasa v'shirasa tush b'chasa v'nechem asa דאמירן ביולמה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. אל מלא רחמים, שויכן במרומים, המצא מנוחה נחיינה על כנפי השחיינה, במהלויס קדושים וטהרים, כזיה הרקיע מזהירים. הס נשמויס אחינו בני ישראל הקדושים, שהומסו ושנהרגו ושנשחטו ושנשרפו ושנחנקו ושנטבעו על קידוש השם בעבור שאני נוידר צדקה ביד הזכורס נשמויסם בגן עדן תהי מנוחסם, לכן בעל רחמים יסתירם בססר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור מצרור החיים אס נשמויסם אדוני הוא נחלוסם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבויסיהם, ונאמר אמן.